you guys are going to talk to the team about making a serious run at the ACC title. How big is this game looming up at Georgia Tech, kind of impeding that goal, maybe a little dangerous in the way?
Well, I mean, certainly with what happened in Chapel Hill last night, this is going to be an interesting stretch run, and we're in a great position. I think Georgia Tech is going to be very confident, especially how they played and how they shot the ball in Tallahassee last night. And it's going to be a dogfight. I mean, I would love to see us scratch out a road win. It'll be a hard one to get. Records really don't mean much, I don't think, in this league, especially when you're playing on the road.
Sure, thanks.
Yeah.
Anybody else on the phone have a question?
What's been the biggest?
Yeah, hello?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Who is it?
Sorry. Yeah. This is Greg Couch at Bleacher Report.
Okay. Go ahead, Greg.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about Darius Jackson for a feature I'm working on. But I read when he was suspended a couple of years ago that you worked with him one-on-one at night, and I'm wondering what you got out of that, and if coaches at a national program like yours get a lot of one-on-one time on the court with players anymore.
Well, I think it was kind of such a teaching, learning moment for him. His academic habits weren't what we needed him to be. It was a great adjustment for him, from high school to college, both academically and I think certainly basketball-wise too. And while he was away, I just didn't want him to think he was out there on his own twisting in the wind, and it was a way for he and I to kind of talk through things and bond a little bit more, and for me to get to know him more. I think, all of us, back to your second part of your question, coaches at this level, I think the ones that are pretty successful have really good relationships with their guys and get to know them. I've got 12, 13 guys. I should really be able to get to know those guys. Football's a whole different animal. I don't know how those guys do it. One coach and 100 guys. But in basketball, I think it's a key to have that relationship. Kids know that you're invested in them, maybe other than basketball, and I think that really helps you communicate and coach them better.
Greg, you got a follow-up? He went bye-bye.
We lost him.
Okay.
Right.
Go ahead, Tom.
Where have Bonzi and Zach made the biggest improvement in playing together, where earlier in the year maybe it's kind of stagnant, kind of staggered, but now they're really found a rhythm together?
I think it really starts in their rebounding, and how physical they've been in the paint, and really their rebounding, and I'd say their inside defense. I think that's helped them play better on the offensive end, and they're attacking the basket on the other side. But I think it's really started with how aggressive and how physical they are, just rebounding the ball on both ends.
When did you feel, as early in the season or as the season progressed, that it was coming for them, like they were going to be good together?
Yeah, even in the summer, we started playing those guys a lot together. We felt that was going to be the nucleus that needed to learn how to play together. So you got them a lot of reps together, and they were showing some really positive signs. The one thing about them is they're amazing competitors, and they have a great edge about them. So, because that's so good, you want to just make the other stuff work and try and help them and ride that. We went away from it a little bit to start games. And I think what we've done is, in the last week especially, we've strategically become smaller at times and been more of a four-round, one of them in there, that is. We've done that at key times, but in all three wins this last week, from the 8-minute mark on, it's been those guys together to close it.
How much does it help those two that they're close off the court?
Yeah,
like they're not strangers.
So. Yeah, they're buddies.
They're rooming together. They got the whole Boston, New England thing going. They think the only good players come from New England, and they tell everybody else on the team about that. And but there is really a special bond off the court that I definitely think helps them on the court.
Mike, where you guys are in the standings now, just how much more important do these games kind of get, just especially after what happened last night?
Yeah, no, I think with last night, man, you look at the standings and I mean, it's going to be, what a great race for the fans to follow. Our fans, all ACC basketball fans down the stretch. And, we're on the road for 3, and we expect all of them to be dogfights. And we would be thrilled if we could get a road win in Atlanta and kind of inch our way to a 10th league win, and then kind of do our part and see what everybody else does and see where it is. You're kind of in that thing where you're in that mode. We've been in it before. Take care of your business and then go see how the other guys do, and then look at the standings the next day. But I love the position we're in. I think it's exciting for our team, and it's exciting for our fans.
Obviously, a few seasons ago, you guys kind of came in and it was rocky, but where do you think you are respect-wise in this league now, a couple seasons into it?
Yeah, I think we've really grown in that area. To come back in your second year and win the championship gives you great credibility. And my biggest concern, you heard me on Media Day, was we've been to the NCAA tournament 1 year in a row in the ACC. We want to be that consistent player going almost annually like we did in the Big East. It certainly looks like we're going to put 2 in a row together. And, and again, when you can have success against the Blue Bloods, which we have, and especially on Tobacco Road overall, that gives you great credibility in this league.
My last question is just, the Big 12 has kind of gotten all the, they're the media darling this year, if you want to call them that. Where do you think the ACC stacks up against maybe some of the other landscapes, Big 10 and all that?
I do think we're the deepest league. I said at Media Day, this league had the feel this year of that Big East that we left with 8, 9 NCAA tournament teams. I think if Louisville was eligible, we'd be talking about an 8, probably 9 team bid league. And it has played out that way where we have, just no league has our depth. And that's what the old Big East had. And that's when I think you can really say you're the best league in the country.
Mike, when you joined the ACC or as you were about to enter the ACC, you talked about the change in road venues from larger arenas with Notre Dame crowds to more on campus. Now that you've been through them all, right?
Yep, been through them all.
And about to go through another set that you've been to before. How have you found, it's not like your success has dropped off per se on the road, especially starting last year.
I think we've adjusted, Tim, you're right. I mean, the old kind of neutral site feel that you would get in D.C. with Georgetown or Villanova, All-State Arena with DePaul, even the Rock when we used to play Seton Hall in Newark. Was a lot of our people there. You don't get as many tickets, so it's a tougher place to play in. I think our guys have adjusted and adapted really well to that. I think what really helps you, not only overall in ACC success, but road success, is to have great guard play. And these last 2 seasons, we've been blessed with great guard play, and that helps you steal road wins.
Say, what have been some of the keys to your success?
Yeah,
I think our 2 guards really setting the tone. Our guys. I think our guys love. They like silencing a crowd. Any competitor does. Any kid, you like going in and seeing the opposing team's crowd leaving a little early if you got it sewed up. You really feel like all you have is your guys on the bench and maybe a couple families and friends behind the bench. So I think you look at that, and I think our guys have developed, this nucleus has developed a pretty good vibe of competing on the road and going for it and wanting to silence a road crowd.
This is the team you talked about at the beginning of the year that you thought was going to get better as the year goes on. Regardless of win-loss record, you guys seem to be peaking at the right time. How important is that to have this momentum down the stretch?
I think it's really important. I thought, we've kind of found maybe a new level of mental and physical toughness. And with that confidence in the last week, you worry, you want to keep it moving forward. We haven't played in a while, and you want to keep that edge moving forward. But I do think it's a group that kind of found itself recently, and you're right, it comes at a great time. Want to keep them confident. You want to keep them hungry, and you want to keep them really healthy and as fresh as possible physically and mentally.
And then next week with 3 games on the road, I think it's also midterms week. What do you tell some of the younger guys who haven't been through it?
Well, I started off by this week, really getting on them academically about plugging in, since we are going to stay on the road next week. After our Wake game, we're going to head right to Tallahassee. It would be ridiculous to charter back here, get back at 4 in the morning, and then go back to Tallahassee. But our academic advisor, Pat Holmes, will travel with us on that stretch. If we have to proctor any exams, we'll do that. We'll do some study hall sessions on the road. Luckily, my 3 freshmen are amazingly organized students and gifted students. They have hit the ground running right in summer school. So I've been very pleased with them handling their business. I think this is the week, though, for me to stay after them about getting ahead of the game, because we will miss Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of class next week.
Has that ever even been a problem as far as keeping freshmen focused during that type of week?
Yeah, I think, there's some guys that, you got to help with that and work with them on that. I think it's more comes during that fall, that first real midterm week in the fall, and then by the spring they've adjusted pretty good. And 2 of our freshmen are playing, one's redshirted. I always worry about freshmen that aren't playing and aren't in the mix, because then maybe they're at it, they're down a little bit. What's my future going to be? And you don't want that to carry over into academic performance. And that's something I've always tried to be plugged in with. A guy's not playing, maybe he's down a little bit. You don't want him going to tank midterm week because he doesn't feel good about his role on the team. But the 2 guys that are eligible for us are playing and are part of it. And Elijah, knows there's a plan for him. And as I said, their summer performance and habits, feedback from Pat Holmes, was maybe the best group we've ever had from an academic standpoint, just handling stuff.
Do you see any difficulty playing Georgia Tech a second time?
I think you do. They're and I think they're going to be really confident coming off of last night. We've had hard games with Georgia Tech, no matter what, and I expect a really hard one down there. They're playing kind of they're trying, with last night, they're going to talk about a run and some wins to kind of get back in the picture, which you can do in this league. All of a sudden you get 1 or 2 good wins in this league and you inch to close to 500 or a game under, and you're going to be on the board. You're going to be on the bubble being talked about. So Georgia Tech certainly has a lot to play for, and we certainly do.
And then one last thing, since Syracuse, you guys have been rebounding on the offensive glass a lot better rate. Is that something you focused on maybe after the midway point of the season?
Yeah, I think what we've really tried to do, and it gets back to how I answered Tom's question, is to, when Bonzi and Zach are in there, to pound away, to really go to the board hard. That's another way we get into the bonus quick. When they get second shots, they get fouled a lot of times. That gets us to the bonus, which gets us to the free throw line, which has become a great weapon for us.
Thanks, guys.